from the Senna Tom Kench?
I don't think they will, but I'm curious if any of these bans budge, because there is always the opportunity now, if you're on BLG side, to say, hey, look, we're actually just going to leave open some more of these mid lane picks, so then we're less targeted when it comes towards the mid lane champion pool. But at the moment, doesn't seem like anything is different.
No, it's looking very, very similar. As the Orianna, there is the Azir, and we'll see what the final ban is going to be, but I have an inkling as to what it might be.
Yeah, I think BLG, no reason to drop the Ashe ban. I don't think you want to see Keria on that. I think that will be just pain, pain, pain. So it's from the side of T1, and we'll see if they follow up similarly from last game as well.
Yeah, and of course, with a switch of sides, you'd think that maybe things would be adjusted, and so the Varus is going to be banned away this time around. That Ashe...
Not going to let it through, right?
Yeah, I mean, okay,
wow.
so the Talia ban... Now it could be an Ashe first pick in theory. With the Varus banned away, I mean, you don't have as many of those matchups that you really, really like, but of course we know that Keria plays it with anything.
But also on the opposite side, Elkanon have been more than happy to take something like the Caitlyn Lux into these double AD carry lanes, so maybe it is a little bit of a bait to see if they will go for the Ashe first pick. Looks like T1 are going to maybe go for it. Maybe.
I mean,
just maybe.
Just look at the evolution of this series, though. And now we've got triple Faker bans here with putting so much pressure onto the GOATS champion pool.
Yeah.
This guy has played 82 out of 168 available champions in League of Legends in professional play. But with the way that the series has gone, I actually agree with it. The Talia priority here overtaking. And T1, they opt for the Kalista side.
Yeah,
They let the Ashe pass.
Yeah, I actually really like still picking up the Kalista. It is a little bit harder to pick the Lucian into it, a little bit too much early game pressure, but it is now Elkanon that are going to start off with this Senna. Could it be the Tom Kench picked alongside it? Because with a Nautilus now available, because that Varus took the spot of the Nautilus that has been permanently banned throughout this series, they could decide to take that one away as Shun is playing with their hearts a little bit.
He's having some fun. Just a couple of shout outs there.
And this is the best Senna lane.
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity as well to just shut down the Kalista. That point-and-click CC from the Nautilus is so good against that Kalista, but we'll have to see how it's going to start to pan out, because realistically, I think we're going to see the mid lane more than likely locked in for Faker. Could just go for the Corki, has been very, very strong, and has been something that he's fallen back to, as alongside the Renata, which is the other side of the good matchup into the Nautilus.
Yeah, and this is something that Keria has found a lot of success on in the past, and the good old Kalista Renata has been very, very powerful. So they will lock that one in. We'll see whether it's going to be Faker's pick or whether it's just going to be a jungler for Ona. Try and round out this first round of picks. I wouldn't even mind some Maokai attention here from T1, because it just was so devastating from Shun in the last game. Maybe they want to have that power themselves. See where their minds are going to go as far as this final pick for our first round.
Yeah, what is... I honestly want to grab some jungle. Okay, yeah, they grabbed the Xin.
All right.
They grabbed the Xin here for Owner. So much power in this champion. With that, plus the Kalista Renata, T1 showing we are going to do something about this bottom side of the map, and we are going to do it quick.
Is Shun going to do it? I mean, Knight is having a good old giggle right now, so I would imagine that this is just a bit of a hover.
We've had a lot of hover shout-outs so far.
But we also have already had in Italy, so I'm a little bit worried.
I was going to say, I think you can take the Tristana here. Very, very strong, and it gives you the opportunity to try and play heavily through mid lane and get that push, which denies the opportunity for Xin Zhao to go for a lot of these invades, because we've seen over the course of the series how important that mid priority has been for both sides of the coin. And now with Knight going back towards the Tristana, it feels like you have a great setup for BLG when it comes to these team fights.
So then T1 banned the Maokai, because you don't want to deal with that pairing
Maokai,
with the
yeah.
Tristana, kind of the classic. Going through other like AP junglers right now, I mean, the Nidalee is one, Karthus is one. We haven't seen a lot of the AP jungles.
What about the Lilia?
Yike did the
we
Lilia.
saw that earlier, yeah.
But I don't like the Lilia with that setup.
No. But it was AP. That was the only thing that I really
I think Maokai's for sure. And then maybe they split a ban toward like top lane or something.
Maybe they just go for the Sejuani and the Zac, so you still get at least a little bit of that AP damage coming through from the Zac. Could be just enough to fill that hole, but more than likely you're going to see Zeus going towards something like the Cassandra on the opposite side, so it could be the angle here for Bin.
We'll see. That is 5 Faker bans. Technically 6, because they banned the Ahri themselves. So Faker's going to have to dig a bit deep. Of course, you have mentioned the amount of champions he's played professionally, but how many is he practiced on for this tournament right now? That is the question. We saw already that the Aurelian Soul didn't look all that great as just
there it is.
The Nidalee going to be locked in.
Yeah, the other AP source. All right, Canyon did it. Everybody's allowed.
Floodgates.
Should also is one of the mega Nidalee players, so he is definitely allowed to do it. I'm very excited. I hope that he doesn't start out also with 2 deaths of invading for the Nidalee, and we can see the Nidalee once again.
I'm a little bit nervous because I think it was at Worlds last year we hyped up Shun Nidalee, and then it fell apart a little bit. But the Akali coming through on the opposite side. Faker wants to go toe-to-toe against Knight.
Oh, baby, this is a spicy draft from T1. I like the firepower that we are seeing in it already. And we're going to get top lane classic matchup.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's not exactly the most set up either.
Rest of the map, though, is banging.
Yeah.
This is not too bad, although it is double AP as far as that top 2v2 is concerned. So Cassante, a little bit more of that stable pickup. And we do know that Zeus very, very happy on the Zac. That was how they picked up their only win in this series thus far. Oh man, could this be the adaptation that T1 required as the Cassante is indeed locked in?
I was going to say, I'd be very surprised to see Rumble for Bin. Yes, we saw a little bit of Worlds. That was the first time he ever played it in his professional career, and has only played it a handful of times even this year and hasn't looked great on it. So instead, they're just going to go back towards the Cassante. This is insane. Shun going to have to perform just like we saw from Canyon yesterday in the Nidalee, but are T1 ready for the Cougar in the jungle?
I was kind of thinking that maybe Bin would go down the Renekton route because Renekton Nidalee has been such incredible setup. It might have been that they saw the Zac and they're like, it's going to take us about 3 years to get through it, and we don't want to waste that kind of time.
Yeah, that is not worth it. That would be a waste. I am so excited for this one. We get a Faker Akali. Remember coming to this patch for MSI, there was the 30 extra HP added.
Hey, there we go.
Tantalizing.
Akali buffs, ridiculous.
We'll see if Faker ever lives by that health margin. But let's get right into it, Dagda.
I'm a little nervous because we saw Cream on the Akali yesterday, and once we got to the Mega Tanks later on, it was just kind of like, oh, Cream doesn't really get to play particularly much. So I think a huge amount of this is going to be on Faker, seeing if he can get on towards a much squishier backline in the likes of the Nidalee and that, but we'll have to keep our eyes on to see if he can find that early lead, those early skirmishes that propel Akali to unstoppable heights.
Yeah, I know Guma loves the lethality Kalista, but maybe he goes on-hit Kalista this time around to be able to solve that Cassante problem.
We'll have to check some keystones as we make our way onto the rift here. Do or die for T1, match point for BLG. Can move into that winners final here and keep themselves alive with an extra life here at MSI 2024. The other team going to be going down to face TL in the lower bracket. Shun, not a lot of setup for the Nidalee in this game, as he's going to land his first spear. That is the way you want to start it off, as the electrocute proc going to come in as well.
Target practice, set myself up.
Alrighty. So it looks like standard lanes are going to be attempted.
I love when the observers play those games.
Yeah.
Turn off the lights.
Well, is it going to be Faker that is going to take the next one? And the answer is no. Able to sidestep that, at least for the moment. So 1 out of 3 thus far.
I would like chat to keep a cumulative counter going for every spear that we see thrown.
All right. Can I do it as well?
Yeah,
Can I be chat?
That is your job and chat's job.
All right. It's me and you, chat. It's chatless. We got to do this.
Chatless.
Got to keep that spear count going. I'm gonna forget, so it's
yeah, exactly. I think the chat is gonna do a lot of the heavy lifting in the chat list combination.
That's how it works in the LCK. I'm glad that it's here in the international stage as well. As Ona is gonna find some friends as Elkanon move in to this top lane. Ona gonna vacate the area immediately. Sweep out on that ward as well. Carrier throwing some things around here as Shun getting started on the blue buff himself. And now Elk is just being frustrating. Smite going to be utilized here, is now Bin getting aggressive. Carrier is wandering now back towards his teammates as the tiny little flash is going to at least stop that spear from landing.
All right. Technically, the spear missed, but it was a really high-value spear that was going to hit, and then he had forced a flash. So I guess by the rules, we still have to count that towards a miss, but that was very high profile.
Or maybe it still gets something, and so it's successful. Is now on an Elk going to put Zeus down to half health.
Yeah, who wrote the rule book for our chatless game?
Oh, no. I thought someone had looked at it.
It wasn't me.
beforehand.
It was chat. We'll just have to refer to chat. They'll let us know.
Yeah, count it as a hit, I guess. He got the flash.
Yeah. It was a successful spear.
Yeah, there we go.
It didn't hit, but it was a successful spear.
Okay.
The miss, though, is for Bin. Bin hasn't managed to get any of this CS in the early stage of the game, whereas when you look at Zeus, he actually managed to farm some of that early CS and actually get the experience because you had Elk going in towards the enemy jungle, so he was just in a 1v1. And now Bin potentially going to be dove as this wave hits the tower as well. You're seeing on reset, he may just TP in to save his top laner.
Tell you what, this is a good look for T1 though, because what they haven't had is an aggressive bottom lane throughout this entire tournament. Elk, okay, doesn't really want to be doing battle with Zeus here, who does have flash available. So does Elk, of course, has to use the heal first. Has now teleport to get the Nautilus towards the bottom side, try and defend Bin and make sure that he can pick up this experience.
Meanwhile, guess what? Owner's gonna be the sad one again. Shun on the Nidalee, a champion really built to take over jungle camps. Gets a dream start where he takes away his quadrant on the blue side and then gets to pass by his own raptors into your...
That's another miss.
That one was for sure a miss. Scuttle crabs, though, I mean, everybody's...
That's 2 and 5, I think. I don't know.
Everyone's been juked by scuttle crab sometime or another. But regardless, it's still going to be dream start. You know, Shun on Nidalee power farming ahead here with the extra camps available due to the lane swap.
Especially when you have the setup as well coming through from On, you can start to play pretty heavily around Elk and on this bottom side and try and look for an initial kill or at least some of these spears to hit off of your first reset. So Shun, I'm going to be keeping my eyes on to see if he does try and link up with the BLG bot lane, especially as Gumayusi and Kerry are going to enter into that 2v2. So Kerry more than likely going to be the person they're going to aim for.
Well, Zeus picking up blobs and stuff like that here towards the top side as Shun in position. Let's see whether he can find some sort of engage opportunity. Bin pins him against the wall. There is a spear connecting, but the elastic slingshot, it comes out. The flashes both going to come on through here as that spear is going to miss. So 3 and 6 is my count, I guess.
Woo, okay, I'll go with that.
It's going to be a flash, so a successful game.
Incredibly close there. Shun almost able to chase down. Meanwhile, mid lane, Elk's going to pay a visit here to try and punish this Akali even more.
Yeah, Piercing Darkness coming on through there as Faker backflips, collects himself the minion as well with the return.
Will have gotten through to level 6 though, essentially. Will be fine to just reset here, TP back in off of his first purchase and be relatively fine. So Faker kind of making it through the worst part of the laning phase. Is even going to stick around now to pick up this wave with Kerry's help.
Oh, actually finding a little bit of damage here on Tonight. Not wanting to go aggressive with Elk in the area. As he's going to be snared once again. And there is the plate going on over to both of the AD carries here on BLG's side. Bin is behind a turret. As Zeus did make his way back. Great handshake there from Carrier as Elk going to be burning down. Shun turns up. And now in goes Ona, finding the opportunity. Wind becomes lightning, connects on to Elk as now Faker looking for that opportunity. Dives on in. He's going to have to move back. Does connect with the minion that he'd already set up to make his exit.
Yeah, Elk blowing his flash too. Shun is...
Yeah, speaking of flashes, Ona has to use his to get himself out of the way as well as Knight, unable to get into range for any of these autos. Needs to draw more beads, I believe.
Maybe the red buff could have been the slow, but not quite able to get in range there. Shun has to back away, but a massive amount of aggression around this mid lane. Elk even have to burn his flash again. It has not looked too good for him on this Senna thus far. Getting jumped on by Zeus on the top side, now burning flash again. This Senna definitely needs to find a home where she can get some souls and get a little bit of experience for herself.
And that home better be far away from Faker. A level 6 Akali, and a level 3 Senna with no flash is definitely a death sentence there. So we'll return to top side though with Zeus with level 6 advantage on Bin is trying to press it.
Yeah, being able to throw his body around just a little bit here, collects the bits of it that fall off as well, and that is going to allow him to even out that trade. This plate going to be picked up for Keria and Gumayusi. They're going to help out Ona taking down this first dragon of the game. And Elk will now just find Zeus, who will get snared. There are 3 members of BLG in the area, but Elastic Slingshot, one heck of an ability. That is going to mean just the grub's going to be taken here by BLG, but that is still a good prize.
Yeah, not a lot of experience for Elk, but is getting a lot of souls. You know, roaming up there by the Void Grubs as well, getting those off of the back of Shun. So as long as the souls keep on stacking, Knight here with a little trade.
Yep. Faker going to explode momentarily. There it is.
Cannon.
And he has come back to lane with an Aether Wisp now done. So a bit of extra movement speed. Pretty nice. Some brown bags and a book. As now on underneath this turret, not really able to stop Carrier and Gumayusi from continuing to rain hell down on the crockery hidden inside these towers.
I think that's the problem here as well, is that because you got Elk roaming around, you're not getting the experience. Yes, you're getting some souls, but you're kind of just giving Gumayusi and Carrier what they want. It is an on-hit Kalista as well, so the longer she can kind of stay ahead of Bin and stay relevant is kind of where T1 are comfortable. Otherwise, Bin just becomes an absolute menace that no one can deal with. So I am curious as to if BLG are going to be able to find success with Elk at some stage, or if T1 kind of just get to keep pushing their leads through the laning phase.
Yep, they are going to focus the experience onto On here, so maybe a Giga Nautilus will take effect. Shun is making a pass.
Seen this one before, as Zeus now just trying to move himself back. The Q doesn't really connect. There's the all-out as Zeus is bouncing, and he's got Cell Division, so he was never in any trouble at all, and they're not able to get the passive either. As Faker doesn't find the backflip, and so Knight is going to be absolutely fine here in this lane. Faker going to now look for another back, get that health bar back in order. And this Akali will be a threat in the earlier stage. I'm just really worried that Bin is going to be absolutely immortal as this game goes on. Thankfully, of course, Gumayusi is the on-hit variety, but Kalista just isn't really a tank shredder.
It does feel a lot like BLG are going for the, hey, we just want to prevent ourselves from dying. You have On who's going to be strong, Bin who's going to be strong. Even the early Hex Drinker coming through from Knight, it's a do not get burst out and we win the fight. As long as we can keep ourselves alive in the backline, we're going to be okay. So I think Elk going to be the one that's really struggling this game, and it'll be on Knight to try and carry those fights as the main DPS in the backline.
Oh, this is so dangerous for Carrier. Spear is going to land. Good flash as the pounce was coming through. The Carrier still having to use that very valuable summoner spell in order to escape.
All right, unable to push the wave out as well. This Giga Nautilus that's been soaking up the 2v1 pressure here with his Bomby Cinder, able to push out.
Zeus moving up behind the turret here once again. Seen top laners just not really caring about where minion waves are, and Zeus presses W a few times and is going to be absolutely okay.
I think next play too, T1 and Faker especially, gonna look to use his ultimate and look to try and execute one of these bot side members, namely Elk, searching for either Elk or Shun, because as you mentioned, the Hex Drinker rush from Knight makes that a lot more difficult. So look for one of these other squishier targets around to try and go for those combos. Owner here, moving in with him, multiple control wards around mid lane, used to get some vision, and used to try and invade and see if they can find those targets.
This is the smallest Elk I've ever seen. Like, there are some that are as big as cars or trucks, and then I look at this one, I'm like, you are 2 levels behind the enemy support. You have no access to an ultimate. You're kind of just wandering around and dawdling, hoping that you can get some sort of experience.
32 souls though.
Yeah, I mean, look, he needs to get some grass. That's all I'm saying. There has to be something that he can give this Elk to speed
He's
along.
grazing in bottom lane now. A little bit of grazing. Catch back up. At least get his level 5. Okay.
What's the grass equivalent of steroids? How do we get them to Elk in the bottom lane?
I'm not sure. That spear is going to land beautifully here, though, as Shun going to force out a backflip there from Faker and also get him relatively low. Shun looking for some more camps, as we can see. And Knight takes a turret shot. Carrier in the area. Almost rhymed, kind of cute, as he is going to step on that trap, now moving back towards that top side of the map where Gumayusi is lying in wait. Owner also somewhat in the area, but Knight is really starting to tear through these turrets. And with these grubs coming up once again, it's going to be BLG looking for an opportunity there to be able to really lock down these turrets. Faker finding the 5-point strike as Owner moves on in. Shun still lurking, and the spear not going to quite connect there. Don't have the count anymore. Hopefully chat's going to be there for me.
These should go to T1 because, actually we're seeing a walk-up from Zeus in the river right now, but they should go to T1. On does not have teleport. So Zeus going to turn it into a 5v4. These should definitely go to T1.
Yeah, you can see Zeus just moving towards Knight here, decides that he wants to head towards the Raptor camp and is going to be able to head over there. So Void Grub's going to be collected, like you say, by Owner, but another plate going down here for Knight in the mid lane. More money to the Tristana is great news for BLG. It's going to have so much DPS, so much turret destruction power.
And you just get to keep up this pressure as well because Knight's able to shove in mid. You continue to put pressure onto this bottom side jungle. Steal away camps. On will be fine. He should be able to just hook himself out. There you go. Although,
Giga Nautilus. Giga Nautilus. He's the same level as the enemy top laner. He's the same level as the enemy solo
He better
laners.
be. Elk is still level 5.
Giga Nautilus. This is the way. BLG. They rotate down for the dragon, but T1.
Yeah, Carrier noticing that this is going to be very low. That is the steal for Owner, though. Says thank you very much. And they're not even going to go aggressive onto him because he's got flash. Could have just got himself out the back end.
What a power move. Carrier just drops the ward in. Instant W from Owner. Jumps right in. Thank you for leash. T1, they were able to get the grubs and continue their dragon stacking. This is actually very big for the comp here for T1.
Oh, God. If they get a mountain soul, that's Zach with a mountain soul, I do not want to see that.
I mean, if you flip it though, if BLG
Yeah, if
are
Bin
able to
gets
get
one,
control,
he's never
that's
dying.
terrifying. Exactly. Giga Nautilus and Bin going to be a major issue when you get Giga Bin into that position as well. But I think this is where we're going to see more pressure around this mid lane. Knight going to be able to get this mid lane turret, and then you can start to open up in side lanes. And if you can keep the 1-3-1 in position, then you're good. But this is just a fantastic steal from Zayas. They see the ward go over, and even with the burst that you think Shun should have, Owner just times it beautifully and steals that one away.
Yeah, really nice. I mean, you could not steal that with a pure smite because he timed his Q auto with the smite immediately, and the last HP I saw was 977, so really good combo there from Owner. He's got his timing down.
Yep, cleanly done. Sundered Sky now completed as well. Kabazin's out. Gonna be feeling pretty good about where he's at in this game. Blade of the Ruin King completed here for Gumayusi as well. As Elk not quite able to stop this Kalista from bearing down on the turret. Area turns up as well. He'll be absolutely fine. So Knight getting to work in this top lane, and the split push should certainly be something that BLG can do, especially in a 4-1 with Tristana in the side lane. Very scary stuff. It's just use the teleport to get towards that top lane, and that turret is very low. As is this one. I mean, all these turrets are sort of limping through life right now. And Gumayusi going to be able to clear out the wave, but BLG, they can move to whichever lane they would like. So much of these minions are in their control. As another few are going to miss there as Zayas trying to go aggressive onto Bin. Pick up a few of these blobs as now T1, speaking of aggressive, positioning themselves. Nice. Spear going to connect there from Shun as Wind becomes lightning missing. Looks very close, to be perfectly honest, as now T1 just moving towards the mid lane, and we won't have the action that I was thinking might be happening.
BLG just want to play it slow. They know that Knight will be able to chip away at the turret. Vaughn will get control over mid, so there's no pressure on them to try and overforce things. Just look for a hook on an isolated target, look for a Nidalee Spear, but Owner goes.
Just diving on forward, he does get rooted. But looks like Elk is going to survive for the moment. These spears really getting avoided now as Bin taking that turret shot, didn't really want to. Audacious charge comes in yet again as he pounces away. And we're just testing the waters, everyone, just testing. And we haven't committed to any of these fights just yet. This one definitely not a commitment. You can see that Bin losing a bit more health, but I don't know whether Zayas is going to be winning fights.
BLG definitely want to make sure they're winning this. A match against Gen G up next, if they can try and find it, but Spear goes wide.
Yeah, picks the gap as the Rift Herald going to be secured here by T1. Muscling a little bit back in this game.
Yeah, inner route towards the mid tower, though, is acquired for BLG. They're going to push out the wave first. How hard do they want to press? The tower's so low, but it's hard for them to step up. T1 defend. They keep barely this tower standing.
We're not really getting the key abilities from BLG hitting, like the stun from Elk, the root coming through from On, like a hook, the setup for Shun. So a lot of it has just been tossing out these Nidalee Spears in the hopes that maybe they hit someone. And when they don't, T1 very quickly are moving forward, understanding that they are then in a position to try and take the fight against BLG. And with that, BLG have to play respectfully. And you can see in the MasterCard Lane Economy snapshot that Gumayusi, obviously a little bit of fake data because he is up against Elk, who's on the Senna, but he is still very strong. And if you can play around Gumayusi, T1 can try to blow up in this game.
Yeah, we'll see too, because On has been able to rush the Frozen Heart on that Nautilus with all the extra money that he got kind of funneled into him. The Frozen Heart will be so effective if he can stay in range of Guma plus Owner, which shouldn't be too hard. They're both very short range champs that both rely on attack speed. And see how much they can kind of put a stop to that T1 DPS on this team. We haven't seen Faker yet, use his burst combo on the Sakali with the Lichbane Rush, following here with the needlessly large rod on top of it. And already level 12 here with rank 2 in the ultimate.
And we also haven't seen a kill so far this game.
because Elk has been stealthy. He's been able to avoid
Yeah.
a lot of these kill angles. Done quite a good job there. And
I'm feeling right at home. Like this is my sort of chess match League of Legends that I
This
get
is not
used to.
my
I love it.
BLG though. BLG are supposed to be skirmishers, supposed to be fighters. They're not supposed to be like, yes, we actually just autoed the ranged minion twice there, so then we could set up for a slightly slower push that will then accumulate right in time for Dragon, which is now spawned on the bottom side of the map. It is a mounted dragon, so T1 would like to procure that.
But I agree with their reasoning why. They've got unlimited stacking Senna, and they've got Tristana stacking range as well with levels.
Oh, the hook not landing. That could be a problem here as On is down to 50%. He's extraordinarily tanky. You mentioned Giga Nautilus. That is fitting the bill. Skoomer is going to be able to tear out those sticks. So we almost had some sort of theoretical death or kill, but it didn't happen.
We had a turret death. So there you go.
There we go. First turret blood.
Turret death on the top side of the map as Knight is able to continue pushing on that Tristana. We get a slight intervention of the aggressive living of these tanks on bottom side, but still, you know, BLG with a Tristana and a Senna scaling continually here, you know, both these champions continuing to acquire range the longer this game goes on. They even are able to bully in here, and they've got priority on Dragon. I mean, Figure has teleport, but is he going to use it?
Yeah, vision available here as Elk. Wind becomes lightning is going to connect. There is an ulti. Great knock-up as On is going to have to flash to get himself out. Knight is now being kept out of this fight as well as now Faker has his mitts on him. The Dragon down to 50%. Another W going to be connecting there. The Dawning Shadow, and it should be first blood as Gumayusi will be taken down. It's Ben that grabs the first one. Faker tries to get out of there, and T1 are now just going to find themselves lying on the ground. As Zeus, not anything he can do, and he might split up, but he is still very dead. Shun's going to be able to lock that one down, and it's two quick ones for BLG and a Dragon.
On was missing the hooks to give T1 false hope. He finds the crucial one onto Gumayusi, sets up for Shun's spear, and immediately BLG pounds. They take the kills, and they will take the Dragon.
They're just gonna run away with the map now. I mean, they're even gonna get the last outer tower. All three outer towers down on the side of T1 now, not to mention BLG picking up their Mountain Dragon. Let's take another look at it, because Giga Nautilus is the Giga Star here once again. On goes right at Guma, full length on the Nautilus ultimate, and good night, buddy. Senna ultimate was immediately followed over the top, and with that lead, I mean, if you're going to assassinate the enemy Kalista right off the bat, then it's easy for everybody to follow through, and BLG immediately takes so many rewards.
That's the Kalista has to be the tanker. It has to deal the damage, and
Gotta flash those.
you just can't. Yeah, you got to flash them, and you cannot get caught out at the start of the fight. And now with BLG taking all three outer towers, you've got 2 items completed for Bin, 2 items completed for On. It becomes way more difficult to deal with these mega tanks on BLG, and Faker is just not going to be able to do so. He's 0-0-0 on the Akali, an item and a half to his name. There's little that you can do on T1 unless you can find isolated picks.
It's going to be hard for Faker to find any control in side lanes as well. Bin is just getting bigger and bigger, like you were talking about, a couple of items being picked up. And the fact that he collects the first blood as well as an extra assist is going to mean that as these Drakes keep getting stacked, if BLG keeps control of this game, may have slipped out of the grasp of T1. They're going to have to make some moves to get them back into it. And I think it has to come down to this man in the mid lane. Faker has really just ripped victory away from the jaws of defeat in their most recent series. He was the hero. Against G2, he's going to have to need some of that energy, find these backline targets, and get some assassinations.
Yeah, namely, he's trying to hunt Elk and Shun. They're so elusive, those targets, though. I think that Knight here with the Hex Drinker on the Tristana and his flash is just too safe. It's really hard for him to find an execution onto the Trist, but maybe if he could find one of those other 2 squishy targets that don't have great outs right now.
But that's why BLG are playing so safe. You can't really contest towers. Knight clears out waves too quickly. On is clearing out waves too quickly. You just don't have the range that you need to contest. Every time you step up, Shun is coming out of the woodworks to toss spears at your face. So at the moment, BLG are like, cool, we will just hide underneath our towers, poke our heads out every so often if we think we can maybe get a tower or an extra jungle camp, and just play for the dragon stacking that's going to make our tanks unkillable.
Well, T1 with a bit of a shove here into the mid lane. Shun throwing some spears around, but connecting on the minion wave. That hook, oh, just going for the opposite juke. Doesn't actually come on through, and T1 are going to have to back away. The minion wave just evaporates.
And even just with that, he got Guma's heal. On here, on the Nautilus, just walking up menacingly, getting small cooldowns. And then he can rely on these Nidalee heals from Shun, so he gets right back to full health. At BLG, they just feel like they have so much control in this game. And T1, there's not a lot they can do to put a stop to some of the scaling of the Tristana, who's already the gold leader in the game. And Elkir is almost at 80 souls, looks like 75 or so. Of course, every 20 you get your nice range bonus, so it's really going smoothly for BLG, and it's up to T1.
Yeah, they have to find something.
The course of this series, of this game right now, must-win game.
And it has to be a pick, or it has to be some way to force BLG out of their comfort zone, which is underneath these structures. Maybe you can try and hyper-force a Baron that draws BLG out, but in a straight-up front-to-back, I favor BLG. They have a significantly stronger front line in the tanks, so it kind of falls back to find a pick. But with mid-tower still standing, the two side lane towers still standing, how do you even get the deep vision you need to look for picks onto BLG?
Right now, at least, T1 have vision on the Baron. There's that. Control Ward is now in that pit as Gumyushi moving on in. Carrier looked like he was slightly overextended, but he is going to be A-OK. Spear just narrowly going to be avoided. It's BLG trying to make the map as dark as possible. Nice spear connects onto Faker. He'll be okay. Shadow Flame now done, so second item in for the Akali is now Shun. Aggressive once again. Gumyushi throws one auto at him. That is about all they're going to find for the moment. No commitment to any fight right now as Knight moving in from that top side. And now Faker tries to find his opportunity. They take down Shun. There is one in this fight as now Elk. He could be in trouble as well. Makes it underneath the turret. And now Gumyushi, this is his time. He's hopping mad underneath this one. Ona going to do the same thing as Faker. Backflips on top. Not going to be the bailout there for Ona, and they take their first turret. T1 are alive.
Carrier takes it upon himself to change the course of this game. Will it be enough to change the course of this series? He flashes in, he finds Shun, one of those two targets we were talking about for the execute for Faker, and Faker comes away with two.
Gumyushi gets caught though. I don't know if they'll be able to do much about it. Dragon is up and available, and T1 immediately looking for the big objective.
This is the biggest part, the fact that they can now get themselves soul point. They can stop these mountains from being stacked up.
Wow.
And T1 will be able to lock that one down. It is still feeling so narrow here for T1 to try and tightrope walk their way towards silver scrapes, but there is a possibility.
So crazy there. Carrier, the timing, they know. Dragon coming up, they gotta make the play now. He sees the angle, flashes on him immediately, and Faker is here for the follow through. These two.
Great ward from Carrier there. Spots him out and immediately goes over. Uses the ultimate. He doesn't go the way I think he was hoping to, but still gets the play that he wants to. And then Gumyushi able to play forward on is tanky, but when he's tanking 4 members of T1 right now, just isn't enough. Owner though, going a little bit deep to set up the play for Faker, but end up giving his life in the cross.
Yeah, it's another hero setup for Faker. Owner's like, Faker, sir, you landed the shuriken, I will go in.
Sir, yes, sir.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, I'll go get you another kill.
Oh, you need another kill? Okay, here we are.
The shuriken lands, you gotta take that flip. Them's the rules, and that got them the objective. It got them both objectives, the tower and the dragon. So the hope here for T1, just prying their way right back into this game.
And they may have just pried open opportunities to get into the jungle of BLG as well. That mid tower being down means you can start to push that vision line a little bit further forward into BLG's jungle. Look for some of the plays off of Faker as he continues to get control over the side lane. And having that Shadow Flame completed as well is huge for Faker if he wants to try and assassinate people. He desperately needed to start to get that gold into the assassin.
Yep, and as this game goes on, Shun is going to find himself less and less useful, right? Like this is the real time, right? It's mid-game where the Nidalee can really start to put a clause in. With the fact that T1 have found themselves at least a fight. Could be an opportunity here as there's a flash depth charge to come out from On. Faker getting underneath the turret, does have the shroud, I believe, but no, he's not able to get into it, and Shun's able to lock down the kill. Right as I was saying it, they're back on the board.
TP in behind them though, T1 do not want to let BLG go for the Baron. Waving bot side isn't in a position for BLG to really capitalize.
He has his teleport. Could be an opportunity. Hook is going to land there, and it's just not going to be anything here for T1. The cell division comes down, and T1 cannot find any opportunity. That is going to be Gumayusi using that Fate's Call to get Carrier out of dodge. But I don't know about that one, Carrier. The hook is going to be there once again from the Giga Nautilus, and T1 are just falling apart. Dawning Shadow flies in, and it's just going to be BLG wandering back towards what feels like a free Baron.
This has got to be free. Owner, maybe he could work some magic. It would be Psycho, though.
Oh, dear. There is Gumayusi trying to dance his way out this time, but Bit is just going to execute him.
Look at Owner. Owner,
yeah.
he knows the game is about to be lost, so he's trying to sneak his way over there. Knight says, no way you're getting through this jungle. The Baron is ours, and it all started with BLG sending the hit squad for Faker. 4 members, everyone spamming flashes and ultimates, and they took down Faker, and then were able to chain it into the rest of the map.
BLG knew it was their moment. They knew they had to take down the GOAT if they wanted to take this across the finish line.
And Knight flashes the JDG icon. He says, I am the defending champion of MSI. I am the MVP of the LPL, and I am not losing this series.
Probably a little bit of a shout out to Yagao as well, his friend across the JDG who for a long time was with him. But yeah, Knight has replaced him quite a bit. And it's probably for plays like this where he's able to follow up so successfully with On here. The hook, the spear from Shun, the hook from On, the death onto Faker, and the immediate TP from T1 as they desperately want to try and stop this, but they're so separated.
Yeah, and that play was lost from the very beginning for T1 because Bin had teleport.
Yeah.
The Cassante right now is split pushing. He didn't even have to come teleport.
Area, I don't know what that was.
I think Faker, Carrier thought he might have had some sort of angle, but they just didn't have anyone there. There's not going to be any opportunity. Now BLG with this Baron. They've already taken out the inner turret on the top side of the map, inner in the mid lane. Look at this gold lead. It is approaching 10K. Well, I guess 7, so it's not necessarily that close, but it is pretty close. And it feels close enough as T1 were already on the back foot in this game. They found that miraculous fight, and it felt like there was somewhat of a way back in. That door has been shut, and maybe on someone's toes as well, as they're going to go for it once again. On still hasn't taken a damage yet as he gets his hand shook. Elk just standing in the back line, keeping him healed up as Faker looks for the flank angle. Gets the backflip onto Shun, but Gumayusi not going to get bailed out of this one. Shun dives in. He's just going to execute Faker. The hostile takeover is going to come on through. We'll see whether that's going to be enough as Knight does go down. Shun's going to follow suit, but it looks like BLG will have the man advantage in the end. That's going to be the ace, and they might just be able to win the game right here, right now.
BLG will take down the second seed of the LCK in what is an unbelievable performance from the first seed.
And able to get their revenge from the World Championship, and the LPL just showing the LCK that this is their tournament. They do not lose at MSI, and there goes the Nexus. That is the match for BLG, and they'll be heading towards the winners final.
The triple fist bump at the end, and well-deserved. BLG with a dominant victory.
We get a BLG versus Gen G series.
Oh,
what
baby.
a treat we now get off the back of this. BLG, that was a very different look from what you would have expected from them coming out of the LPL's playoffs. Not playing fast, not playing for skirmishes. It was slow, it was calculated. They were willing to just play for this scaling that was going to come through with the 2 tanks in the squad. And BLG showing up at MSI.
Just really thriving under the pressure, and it was their match point, of course. Less pressure on them in that particular game, but the patience, the way they pushed T1 towards, Faker having to pick an Akali that he hasn't played in so incredibly long. I don't think Faker had a bad game necessarily, but the pick didn't fit what T1 wanted to do in that game. Pushed them just far enough to make them uncomfortable, and then capitalized.
I love that we got to see Elk Lucian, Giga, just destroy them. And then we got to see On with the Giga Nautilus also destroy them. Either member of that bottom lane can just carry the game.
And is Nidalee just overpowered? Like, Shun, we know that he gets his Nidalee games, right? But I mean, him and Canyon, both of them absolutely fantastic Nidalee players in their own right, but she has been pretty good at just controlling the Rift